Hi there, this is Raven Dana, and thank you for joining me today, Walking Between the Worlds. This is Wednesday, April 13th, and this is our fourth and final class on the Dream Keepers, the Dream Keepers Circle training class. So, get yourself comfortable and settled. We're going to get a lot done today and give you some fun, exciting assignments to go forward into the world with over the next couple of weeks. Now, I promise you I'm not going to abandon you after this class. I have set up a private Facebook group page on which you can leave your dreams, ask questions. If you would like to be added to that page, I need your email address to invite you. Or if you're already on Facebook, you just need to let me know and I can invite you directly through Facebook. So in any case, if you'd like to join the party in that way, get in touch with me, leave me a message, and we'll get you on the list. All right, let's get started today. We're going to talk about dreams and health, creating dreams and stories for others, and dreaming into the future. How do we dream up the future? We're always dreaming. Even when we're awake, we're dreaming because we're imagining and we're adding our intention and our emotional intensity to the expected outcomes that we think will happen. So we are always adding something to the flow of energy. And sometimes those dreams work for us. They get us where we want to go. And sometimes that intention is thwarted by our beliefs and our inability to believe, to put emotional energy into the outcome we desire. So we'll talk a bit about how to do that and how to help yourself with by asking for assistance also in your nighttime dreams and gaining, again, insight, information, and energy that can rise from the deep. So let's get started with our little invitation to the gatekeeper. May our gates and doors and paths be open, and our gates and doors and paths between the worlds, and may they be closed to any who would harm us or those we love. Please say it with me. May our gates and doors and paths be open, and our gates and doors and paths between the worlds, and may they be closed to any who would harm us or those we love. So be it. All right, let's talk a bit about liminal space, that time after you wake up but before you're fully conscious, and that time right before you fall asleep but before you're totally out, that floating zone, that liminal zone where you're half in and half out, and you know that you're half in and half out. Sometimes it's a great place in which to have a daydream, to imagine an outcome that you desire as if it's already happened, and to experience the practice of having what you want, or of tackling something that's been difficult, or reaching out for some information that you don't consciously know how to get that answer. So that liminal space, like declaring something, in that liminal space of the dreaming, that crossover point where one foot is in waking time and one foot is in free time or dream time, right? Especially when that's done with other people, it becomes very powerful because it opens up the doors to a greater flow of energy and exchange back and forth. So in that place between sleep and waking, vividly allow yourself to practice imagining with every sense, all of your senses. See what happens. Take it on as a practice in the evenings or mornings or both. If you're working on something, just have that full-bodied awareness of whatever it is you're looking for information on or working on, if it's an issue or a health problem, or if you're looking for a place to move to, or if you're trying to change jobs. See yourself in the new situation as vividly as possible. And again, you don't have to lock yourself in, right? You don't have to, it's exactly specifically this way with this colored walls. You don't have to lock yourself in. What you want to do is create that environment. You want to see yourself, for example, if you're looking for a job, you want to imagine yourself happy at wherever you are. Or if you're working from home, see yourself happily working from home, communicating with people that you have a kinship with, that you have an alliance with, and taking a look at your bank account and being pleased that you're being paid well for the thing that you're doing that you are enjoying doing. So you don't have to lock it in real specifically unless you know exactly who you want to work for and what you want to do. But to set up those parameters, here's what I want. You're sending your deep mind on a fishing expedition to move your awareness toward those possibilities, those probabilities, where you get those conditions that you're setting forth met. And then see what happens. Maybe a synchronicity will occur. Maybe you'll have a dream in which you actually see a house on the hill, and when the realtor takes you there, you'll recognize it. So there are lots of different ways these things can play out. What I'm inviting you to do is to experiment and be playful and to invite the energy to move back and forth freely. Not that it doesn't, it does, but we are largely unaware of a lot of the communication that moves through us from different parts of our awareness. We shrug it off, we think, it's just my imagination, that's not real, and we forget it. We set it aside and it vanishes. So I'm going to suggest that you never again say just my imagination. That imagination is powerful, it's potent. And the more specifically you imagine, the better you imagine, the more real the result. Okay, we'll say that. So let's get some energy going. This is something that I learned through Robert Moss, and it's just a way of juicing yourself up. So I'm going to say it all the way through once, and then I'll say it again, and you can repeat after me. I now rise through the strength of the heavens, the light of the sun, the radiance of the moon, the splendor of fire, the speed of lightning, the swiftness of wind, the depth of the ocean, the stability of earth, and the firmness of rock. Just feel that. I'm going to say it again slowly so you have a chance to repeat. And go ahead and add a gesture to each one of those, whatever feels right to you. All right. I rise now through the strength of the heavens, the light of the sun, the radiance of the moon, the splendor of fire, the speed of lightning, the swiftness of wind, the depth of the ocean, the stability of earth, and the firmness of rock. All right, let's do it one more time just because it's fun. I'll slow it down even more. I rise now through the strength of the heavens, the light of the sun, the radiance of the moon, the splendor of fire, the speed of lightning, the swiftness of wind, the depth of the ocean, the stability of earth, the firmness of rock. Yeah? Feel that? Got some energy flowing? Absolutely. So feeling all that energy from all that is around you, moving through you, and you floating in the glorious center of all that is, in that energetic space, with one part of you in the liminal and some part of you awake in this particular three-dimensional space. You have a feeling, you can have this feeling of both and. It's not either or. You're not there or here. You're there and here. That here is there and there is here. So see if you can maintain that feeling a bit as we go through our class today. Can we change the past? Well, we can imagine ourselves. We can go back into the past. We can release old stored energy. We can add new energy. we can provide support and protection for versions of ourselves that had a hard time or a frightening experience or a traumatic event. We can go and get parts of ourselves that have maybe been caught in the past, that felt left behind, or were trapped in an energetic loop, repeating something over and over again deep within us. We can also step in as the selves we are today and change the situation by walking into it and intervening in whatever was going on. In other words, what we're doing is we're actually layering a new memory on top of an old experience, therefore changing that old memory forever, because you're bringing information and energy to bear into the past, which will then have a domino effect back up to the present, to the future, which is your present. All right, just sort of stay with that for a minute. Don't let it confuse you. So remember that in working with the dreaming, right, working within the dreaming, that images and emotions are not only the language, but the currency. So going back to memories and changing what happened actually shifts everything from that point in the past all the way back and up into the present moment. That's the domino effect that I'm talking about. And what we experience shifts right down to a cellular level. I mean, when we have a memory of something, we have the emotions that go with that memory. And every thought and emotion we have changes our chemistry. Every single one changes our chemistry. So you can think about it this way. If you're watching something like a sport that you do, say you're watching, I don't know, bowling, basketball, you may notice that your muscles are firing as if you're throwing a basket, as if you're throwing a bowling ball. If you're watching somebody ride a bike, you might notice that your body is doing very, very small, subtle movements, that your legs are tensing as if you're riding a bike. Well, what we know, what science knows, is that that is in fact absolutely what happens. When we imagine doing something physical, our bodies don't know the difference between doing the thing and imagining the thing, except that it's scaled down, right? We're not flying through the room on an imaginary bicycle in 3D. We are, though, flying through the room on that bicycle deep within our awareness, which is giving us all the benefits that we feel when we are emotionally charged up by being on a bicycle. We're getting those benefits, we're getting those changes in our body, and it's a very powerful and positive thing. In fact, a lot of sports places now do a tremendous amount of visualization with their athletes in order to help them perfect their game. Why? Because it isn't practice that makes perfect. It's perfect practice that makes perfect. If you're throwing a basket and you have a little kink in your wiring and you're not getting net every time, right? You're going to be practicing something that's not going to work for you. It'll get you a certain number of really great baskets and then a lot of not. What they've discovered, though, is that if you practice doing it perfectly, if you watch somebody that's doing the thing perfectly and imagine yourself doing that and having your muscles fire that way and watching how that ball goes or watching the speed with which they run, whatever it is you're doing, that your body will actually start to cultivate that muscle memory. Now, if you've ever done something like ride a bike, you know what that muscle memory is like, right? It doesn't matter how long it's been. If you get on the bike, you find that balance and there you are. It's all coming back to you. When I did years of Taekwondo, it was like that. You could not do a move for a while, but if you were sparring with somebody, all of a sudden, that memory, that muscle memory of having done that thing over and over and over and over again will come back, and your body just spontaneously can do that thing. Dancing is like that. If you've ever learned a particular dance, you're no longer thinking or struggling about the steps. Your body has that muscle memory. Okay, so we're talking about that kind of process, that it sets you up for success when we're doing things that have to do not just with sports, but with helping our body to heal, with projecting our intent into the future, with attracting to us the things that we need in order to do what we want to do, and also attracting to us the clues and the hints and the information that we need. So there's also, the reality that what we are seeking for is also seeking us. There is this magnetic attraction there. So it's another reason to take a look at your expectations, your beliefs around things, because that helps to inform your images. You can have, so we're not talking about, positive thinking. That's, affirmations, and there's nothing wrong with affirmations. But what I'm saying is that if you're working in the currency of images and emotions, and you don't have the emotions because you don't have the belief that this is possible, you need to suspend that disbelief long enough to have that daydream, to feel what it's like, and that can shift things in a nearly magical way. So again, it's just something to think about. Now, while watching somebody swim or shoot baskets or do that, if you have that experience, you know what I'm talking about. And even though imagination is an accepted practice in that way, it's not talked much about in other areas. Like, it surprises me a little, given the amount of research and study that's gone into using imagery for sports, that it's not taught at a grade school or at least a high school level for things that are, self-confidence, for health issues, for memory, for shifting mood, and for plenty of other things, right? Because that ability to imagine is what we do all the time before something shifts for us. So if we have a habit, if we have a story that we're living into, if we're imagining the result and that we're not going to like the result, we are going to have a tendency to generate and regenerate that particular result. Not because it has to be there, but because we're daydreaming with intent and emotion, what's going to happen. And so we're catalyzing it, we're calling it to us. All right. So we have to have that ability to have hope, to suspend belief, to be in the world where anything can happen, because it can. All right. So again, although imagination is widely used for sports, it's not talked about all that much when it comes to medical things. There are some studies, and we know that imagination and the use of imagery can be very, very helpful with certain things, but also it's presented in a way where, well, it's good for reducing stress, and we know that stress is responsible for a lot of illness, but we talk about the field of science talks about mind and body. And so one thing I want you to get out of this class today is there's no such thing as mind and body. It's mind-body or body-mind. There is no separation. Nada. There is no separation. The body and the mind are in each other. We are woven through each other. So it's not as if you don't have other, we'll call them subtle bodies, that you travel in. We do get out of the heavy body and travel, but that doesn't mean that there is a separation between this physical structure and our consciousness, because there isn't. Our consciousness is living in every cell of our body, and the cells of our body are alive in our consciousness and can and do often communicate with us, especially in dreams. So sometimes it's important to notice if you have a dream where there's, say, a very dirty, icky, polluted body of water. You might want to think about drinking more water, doing a cleanse, seeing if you have an infection, right? You might notice that in a dream you have a car that has a problem with its brakes, and that might have something to do with something going on in your body. Oh, I have a kitty. Speaking of, there we go. Got to get the kitty off the table. Okay, so go kitty, go. Thank you. All right, so I just want you to get that, to think about that. I'm going to read you 2 quotes. This quote is from, well, you'll hear it, okay. In the book, The Body Keeps the Score, van der Kolk uses recent scientific advances to show how trauma literally reshapes both body and brain, changing capacities for pleasure, engagement, self-control, even trust. He explores then innovative treatments from neurofeedback and meditation to sports, drama, and yoga, because these offer paths to recovery by activating the brain's natural neuroplasticity. Now, you might have heard that word, the brain's neuroplasticity. So things that we think and feel are not written in stone. The brain can shift and change and develop and grow. New programming, neuroplasticity. So here's a quote by Robert Moss. Some of our dreamscapes are living dioramas of what's going on inside our bodies. Conflicts taking place in our dreams are sometimes dramatic portraits of how our immune system is trying to cope or failing to cope with disease. Dreams can take us deep into the cellular structures of the body. For thousands of years, gifted physicians have recognized that such body talk dreams can provide very accurate diagnoses of our ailments, often long before physical symptoms have developed. So again, pay attention to your dreams. And if for some reason you're not really paying attention, maybe you'll have a friend that has a dream for you. Maybe they will actually have a dream for you. So that happens too. And I'll say that the more you play in this area, the better you get at this for yourself, the more crossovers will occur between you and your friends and relatives, people that you love, right? It's going to happen. And I've told you this story, but I'll tell it again because it's a good story and it's the truth. So I had a dream of someone. I was in a grocery store on a checkout line, and this person was standing behind the checkout line, pointing to foods in a freezer, a big freezer, with the sliding doors and all that, pointing to meat and saying to me, you need to tell me to eat this. I need to eat. Maybe I won't listen to myself, but maybe I'll listen to you. And I woke up laughing, but I thought, I don't know what that's about, but I'm going to call him. And so I did. I called him and I said, listen, I have this dream. And I told him the dream and he went, wow. And I said, well, wow, what? He said, I'm going to put you on speaker. Would you say it again? So I repeated the dream. Meat, you were telling me that you needed to eat meat and that, you're not listening to yourself and maybe you'd listen to me. And then I hear his girlfriend go, are you kidding me? So the deal was, he had just gotten some blood work done because he had been feeling awful. And they asked him about his diet, and he had, stopped eating meat. And they told him, listen, you've got something pretty severe going on here in the anemia department. You better up your protein. You need to eat meat. You need to eat iron. You need to eat red meat. Now, he was resisting it because he was thinking, well, that's bad for me. And I said, well, you're talking to yourself and you're not listening, so please listen to me. Well, very long story short, he did change his diet and he did resolve the issue, and he's much better now, and he is eating a moderate amount of meat. So again, it doesn't typically happen that way, but for me, occasionally it does happen that way, and it could happen for you, that maybe somebody who's not listening to themselves will tap you on the shoulder in the middle of a dream and give you a message to bring back to them. It could happen, so don't be surprised if it does. All right. So, and healing, healing is, I just also want to say that healing doesn't necessarily mean curing. That there are stories about people getting help with healing that are maybe an improvement of symptoms and maybe a complete remission of something. But I don't want you to think that there's some sort of guarantee or some sort of, absolute thing that if you do it right, don't get in this trap, that if you do it right, that you'll be cured or the other person you're helping will be cured, because that's not what healing is. Healing is restoring to balance. And sometimes it's a person's time to die, and balance for them means getting some completion in some areas of their life before they die. Or maybe it means that they get an extra 5 years instead of dying next month. Or maybe it means they don't die from that illness, but they die from something else. So I don't want you to get hung up on the idea that healing is curing. Cures do happen. Absolutely, they absolutely do happen. And I don't want you to get the two confused. That somebody can come out of a healing session perfectly healed, and also ready to cross over, right? Rather than fighting and resisting and fearing. So it's important that we learn to get our personal agenda out of the way when we dive into the deep end, because we'll tend to have existing beliefs that we try to apply to the space of the dreaming that don't really apply, right? It's a whole different thing happening under the surface. That 2/3 of the iceberg that's under the water there has its very own way of communicating and experiencing life. Okay, so, but you get what I'm saying, right? This is why in the dream work there's this saying: the more vivid the imagination, the more real the results, right? In the deep mind, there's part of our awareness that's always exchanging information with our waking self, and vice versa, right? In the dreaming can be a catalyst for that neuroplasticity that changes our way of thinking and changes our physiology. I have seen people heal themselves of things, including cancer. I've seen it happen. The dreaming can be a catalyst for that. It can also create a life-changing or life-saving alteration of beliefs, right? It can do that too. Somebody that's had a series of experiences based on the story that they have about themselves, always being the victim of something. If they can shift that story, the experience changes as well. So again, the process that we're talking about when we imagine, visualize, when we invite our dreams to inform us, it's not passive. This is not just it's not, and again, I meditate every day, but I'm saying it's not meditating, it's not positive thinking, it's conscious dreaming. It's entering the liminal space deliberately and walking that line between possibility and outcome, right? Recognizing that all outcomes are possible, so there is no limit to what we look for, okay? So, and another way to think about this is that the liminal space, the dreaming, and the space in the between times is the place where our intent informs the field of energy. It tells the field of energy what we prefer, what form we want it to take, what reality we want it to congeal into, right? So it catalyzes the outcome through our emotion and our openness to that outcome. And yes, often it's not just us. We have helpers, we have guides, we have guardians, we have our beloved dead and the sacred ancestors and figures from myth and mystery and gods and goddesses and spirit animals and between world beings. We have this family of help that exists for us in the dreaming. So it's not like we're just out there on our own floundering around. So just as in your waking state, you have friends and family and people that you can call and go, hey, I'm in a pickle today, I need to talk to somebody. When you're imagining and when you're asleep in the dreaming at night, you also have a family. You have those who can help you and inform you and get you through things when you're stuck. So, don't think that you're out there on your own. We're not. We're not out there on our own. We have our spirit animals and we have those around us. So we're going to do 2 practices. So I've yammered on enough for now. And we're going to do 2 imaginal exercises. So get yourself prepared, get comfortable to do it. Get a notebook ready so that when you're done, you can capture whatever might come through for you. And the first thing that we're going to do is an exercise around shifting the past. I want you to pick an experience that you would like to shift or change, or something that maybe you would like to go back to and have happen differently. Maybe it can be anything at all, right? But pick an experience from the past. It can be the recent past, it can be the long past, that you would like to shift in some way. And again, you can do this on your own as many times as you want, so you don't have to try to do it perfectly or make it a big deal right now. And I'm going to talk us through it, so it'll be easier. All right, this is the first one. Here we go. Ready? Okay. Close your eyes and bring your attention to your breath. And as you breathe, you let your body soften and relax. You find that space between in-breath and out-breath, between out-breath and in-breath. That little pause. And breathing in, you rise to the still point. Breathing out, you drift gently down to the still point and relax. Feeling your body settle down on the surface beneath you. You feel your body open and let go. Tension drops away. Thoughts drop away. And images rise around you. And you find yourself sitting in a theater. You recognize this place as the Dream Theater. On the screen in front of you, there's just some movement. You can't really make it out. But as the lights start to come down, it gets sharper and clearer. And you realize that you're seeing a scene from your past. At first, it's just black and white. And then it shifts into full color. And you watch yourself. You see the scene as it plays out. And you have the urge, the desire to have something different happen. And so you get up from your seat and you walk down the aisle and up the few stairs onto the stage, and you step right through the screen into the action. You can feel the energy move in your wake. You can feel the energy part in front of you, and you physically enter the past. And now you're in the scene. And you can decide if you want to let your past self see you, or if you just want to influence what happens in a different way. But take a few moments now and do exactly what you need to do to create a new outcome in that past event. And you whisper into your own ear in the past, I've got this. I'm right here for you. Watch what I do. and the scene plays out differently. You're pleased. You're so pleased. You start the scene at the beginning and play it out again with the new outcome. And this time, as it plays out, you feel yourself being drawn out of the frame, out of the past, and back in your seat in the theater, where you feel your body warm and vibrating with a new energy. And you see the scene on the screen shifted, different. And just at the last moment, yourself from the past turns and looks right at you sitting in the chair and smiles. And then the screen goes dark. And on the next breath, your eyes open. Okay. When we change something, when we layer something differently in the past, it has a domino effect that takes us back up, changing things up to the present moment. So allow yourself to take on this practice. Anything that you happen to be stuck in, or a habit or loop that repeats, or a change point in your life that was difficult, you can go back. You can talk to yourself, or step in on your own behalf, or change the event in the past. Do it a couple of times and see how you feel. See what new thoughts come of it. See what changes rise from it. It's a great practice. It's, when we maintain intent and emotional response, it's the ground charge for lightning to strike, right? Lightning or a big change, a transformative change. The lightning can't strike if there's no ground charge. So our intent and emotions, our imagining deeply, is that ground charge that opens the possibility for transformative change. Okay. So we're going to do something a little different now. So take a few breaths. And I'm sorry about the noise. Apparently my neighbor decided to hammer against the side of the house in the middle of that. But hey, we'll call it the hammering meditation if it happens again. What we're going to do next is a different type of journey. We're going to journey into the body. And we're going to do a healing imagery, something to release anything that might be stuck and to kind of quicken the healing processes of the body. So it doesn't mean necessarily there's anything wrong with you. It just means we're going to go ahead and do a practice and maybe clean out, So every now and then it's good to sort of take out the trash and turn on the lights and sweep the corners, even of our own internal selves. So we're going to do that. So again, take a few moments and write down any notes that you may have from the previous journey so that we don't just jump back into something new without you having had an opportunity to write it down. And just think about that image, the image of creating the ground charge so that lightning can strike. And, it's not a negative thing. We're not talking about it frying you off the face of the earth. We're talking about a positive transformational change. Now, while you're writing or taking notes, I'll give you an example. So I know somebody recently who's been looking for a new job, and he just didn't know what he wanted to do. All he knew was he didn't want to stay where he was. He didn't like it. It was costing him his health. He was very stressed out. The job was very demanding, psychologically demanding. So he started to do some imaginal work, and he started to ask when he went to bed for some insight, and he started to, in the mornings, lay in bed and imagine working from home, part-time, being semi-retired, planning trips, enjoying his life, and making just enough money, just enough that he could supplement his retirement and have some fun, right? And he did it for about a month, but he did it consistently every day. And he eventually, towards the end of that month's time, started to have dreams, started to have hints and clues, started to have things show up in his waking life that gave him direction. So about 5 weeks after he started the process, he did in fact have an opportunity arise that was exactly the kind of thing that he would be good at and would love doing, and it has to do with physical fitness. He's a health nut kind of guy. And so he took that on. He can do it from home, and he can do video assessments for people. And he got everything he wanted. That out of the blue, he was offered something part-time from home that paid a reasonable amount of money and allowed him to retire from the job that he hated. And he did it, and it happened. And it happened, again, like I said, it took about 5 weeks. Now, I mean, there's no way to know, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 months. I can't answer any of that for you. I'm just sharing his experience and how it worked for him and how he was able to manifest or call to him what he designed, what he wanted. So you can do this in all different areas of your life. And when you're dreaming at night, make sure that when you write your dreams down and share them with others, that you ask for their feedback, for their insight, for their, if it were my dream, what does it mean to them? What associations do they make? Because they're going to come up with things that you likely will step over. And that's going to be helpful to you in your process of uncovering your personal symbols. So again, it's fine to go look up something and what might it mean in the kind of generalized theme of dreaming, but don't get stuck on that because it's not useful very much in the big picture. You decoding what your personal dream symbols mean to you occurs with time and practice. So give yourself that time and practice. And again, that's something I can help you with. If we chat on the Facebook page, or if we chat, maybe we can create a conference call and chat in person at some point a couple weeks out after this class when you've had more practice. So I'll come back to you with that idea as well. Okay, now you ought to be ready for part 2. All right, so again, get comfortable and close your eyes. Relax your body and allow yourself to float on the sensation of breathing. Rising up and drifting down. You relax your jaw, shoulders, and belly. You feel yourself settling down and down, your body softening as you drift on the flow of your breath. And you see yourself lying on the ground, on the grass. And you're standing over your own body. And there are a few others around you, standing around your body as well. Just notice who they are. Helpers or animals or friends or whoever they may be. And you just notice your body on the ground. And you reach down, and as if your body was a cabinet with handles, you reach down and open your body up. You can even hear it creak like an old squeaky door. and what you see inside your body. You see lights flashing and moving, and you see something else. You see something heavy. Maybe they're rocks. There's something. And you have this feeling, you feel what needs to be cleared away. And so not just you, but you and the others, tenderly, slowly, reach down and remove whatever doesn't belong. Maybe a brick here or a rock there, or a squeaky spring here, a railroad tie over there. I don't know what you'll find, but just see what's there that needs to come out. And as those things are dropped on the ground, they vanish, dissolving down into the earth, being metabolized by the Great Mother. And your body becomes so free and light, it's almost hovering above the grass. And somebody reaches down and closes it up. And you can see this faint glow all around your body. And so you lie down in it. And you feel yourself lying in your body. And you scan your body, looking for the lights, the little places of bright light. Looking for the lights that are dim. You breathe on them, and your breath makes them burn brighter, hotter. If a light is out or guttering, maybe one of your helpers reaches in and lights it back up for you. You begin to count them up. There are 12 lights. Just notice where they are and take care of them, making sure all 12 are lit. Asking for any assistance you need. And you feel that light as all those little lights are bright and stable. You can feel the spinning of your cells and the river of your blood moving through your veins, and the wind of your breath in your lungs, and the lightning coursing through your nervous system. And you breathe yourself back into your body, into the moment, into the room in which you rest, vibrant, glowing, alive, beautiful, balanced. And you allow your eyes to open. Okay. You can do that again anytime you wish. And you can create another type of dream for yourself. You can give yourself a new story. You can ask the question, where have I been playing small? Where have I been making myself a victim of something or somebody? What have I been putting up with? What story do you tell yourself that keeps you doing those things? You can use some dreaming time to imagine yourself in a new story with a different kind of life, acting differently, feeling confident, changing things. It's another place to play. And you can, of course, also take hints and clues from your nighttime dreaming, asking for information and guidance about some of those things and bringing it back with you. And remember, you can even ask friends to re-enter a dream with you and explore it more deeply. It's another way to play, to remind yourself there is no separation, that all that is, that the dreaming, the vast array of energy out of which we and our experiences rise, is in us and we are in it, and that all possibility is available. And all we need to do is enter the liminal space and learn the language of the dreaming. So there's plenty that we can do. You can create yourself a new story by reading some myths, or create your life as a quest using your favorite fairy tale. You can be sure to honor your dreams by taking action that moves that energy of the dream into your waking life. Spend some time before you sleep and after waking playing with these ideas. And if you get stuck, ask others for help, for insight. Ask your guides. Call up one of your animals. Just play a lot. Play in that space. Make it up as you go along, as Robert Moss says. Make it up as you go along, because that's what imagining is about, right? It's what we did as kids. Now, you can take this process forward into your life in lots of different ways. Read myths and familiarize yourself with healing temples and healing pools and wells and sacred places, so that you give yourself new images to play with and explore. And you might discover, as many people do, that when you have something come to you in the imaginal and then you go look it up, that lo and behold, it's a thing in the waking world as well, or it's a thing in history that you didn't know existed. So again, validating those dream images by research is a wonderful thing to do. It's meaningful because it reinforces your belief in the unity of consciousness, which is what this is all about, right? The dreaming is where everything rises from. So you can, develop relationships. Is kind of the last piece of advice I want to give you about this, is to cultivate relationships with the dreaming helpers, all of them. Your guides, guardians, dead people friends you have in the dreaming, animals, between world beings, and just spend some time in your dreams exploring. If you run across something or somebody, cultivate the relationship. Look, here's the thing. You don't want to just call on them when you need help, because that's like, you don't ever go visit Aunt Sally, but you show up on her doorstep when you need money or you need a place to stay. It's not cool, right? So you want to have relationships of trust and respect, where you go pour a libation in your garden, go throw some seed out to the birds, go put a bit of your favorite coffee on the ground to say thank you for something that happened, right? It's all about an exchange of energy. So you want to actually cultivate these relationships because they're real. We have relationships in the between. So again, develop those relationships. Don't just show up when you need a helping hand. Strive to be aware of the web of interconnected consciousness in which we reside. Whatever you resonate with can speak to you and through you. So get out there and play. And do some study and research in a good way, not in like, oh my God, I need to learn this, but this excites me. What excites you? What period of history excites you? What myths and stories excite you? What goddesses and heroes and animals and creatures excite you? Find your allies and enter the dreaming with them by your side. Okay, I know it's been a long one today and it's been a long class. I'm going to post a separate dream journey tomorrow, maybe tonight if I have the energy, but definitely by tomorrow that will be connected to this class material. So if you have any questions, you know where to find me. I appreciate you for tuning in, and I hope you got something very useful out of this program. Again, I recommend the books by Robert Moss. I recommend I can make you a list. I will make you a list. I will, when I come back on with my journey, I'll give you a short list of a couple of books besides Robert Moss's that you might want to look at that are relevant to our conversation today. So have a wonderful evening. And I'm sorry to see this class go. It's been great, but we'll keep it well and alive. If you want to be on the Facebook page, get in touch with me. Otherwise, I'll see you in your dreams.